Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news. This is the business of sports.
Sports are the greatest unscripted show on earth.
The next generation of players really grew up with tech and believe in tech.
Your face is your ticket. Your face is your wallet. Your face is your access to a club.
These are such iconic and important buildings for businesses, for fans.
COVID was one of the best things that ever happened to golf.
The NFL is a bulletproof business.
Racing's unique because there is absolutely no reason why we can't compete with the guys.
Come on, is pro pickleball real? Are people really going to tune into this?
If you're playing Moneyball with a huge bag of money, you're going to be really, really good.
Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio.
This is the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr.
And I'm Vanessa Perdomo.
Damian Sassauer is out this week. Coming up on the show, we speak with the president of business operations for the Charlotte Hornets, Shelly, Cayette-Weston.
Plus, we'll talk about the business of minor league baseball.
That is straight ahead on the Bloomberg Business of Sports. But first, let's look at some of the top stories of the week, beginning, of course, with the Super Bowl.
And that will do it. Seattle reigns above them all in the NFL. The Seahawks, Super Bowl champions for the second time.
Super Bowl Sunday is one of the busiest days of the year. I'm excited about talking about the Super Bowl for sports betting. But this year, prediction markets stole the show.
To talk more about prediction market trading on the big game, we welcome Bloomberg News cross-asset reporter Denitsa Sakova.
Denitsa, welcome to the Bloomberg Business of Sports.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
In the immortal words of Vince Lombardi, everybody just bet. Just bet. The gambling stocks, Super Bowl prediction bets, record $1.2 billion on trading day. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, the numbers are staggering. Kalshi itself said that they registered over $1 billion in trades related to the Super Bowl. This is, of course, over the season. But when it comes to the big game and the day, we got some interesting number from Bank of America. They look at the volume for both Polymarket and Kalshi, and they say for Sunday got 1.2 billion, really, really high number. Another number from Piper Sandler that we got is for the week, we got about 5 billion of wagers for both Polymarket and Kalshi together. This is a 12% increase from the previous week. Pretty strong estimates. Of course, we saw a lot of hype about prediction markets going into this. I think some of the projections were quite bullish. A lot of people were saying, oh, this will be like 10 times our busiest day, which is not the case. It was a very strong day. Obviously, a record for Kalshi was around 870 million. And this is 60% higher than the busiest day, which obviously no one can argue this was a great day for them, but perhaps maybe some of them had even more bullish targets for that. But nevertheless, there were many different markets. It wasn't about the game; it was about the performance. It was about Cardi B. It was about Bad Bunny, Lady Gaga. So there was a lot of buzz that was beyond the traditional bets we were expecting.
The interesting thing about this and these numbers are how they've skyrocketed, right? So last year was the first time that Kalshi was even allowed to, or they operated on the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the last year's numbers pretty much look like peanuts now. It was just like less than 200 million. Wow. Now, obviously, numbers, I mean, there were some comparisons and people were like, oh, it's up to 3,000%. But I think it's really hard to compare because last year it was a small thing. It was at the beginning. People weren't really using their apps. A few interesting trends we're seeing. For example, combos, parlays, those bets were really high on Super Bowl day. I was looking at the Kalshi number. About 160 million were in combos volume, about 18% of the Sunday volume. So that's a pretty interesting trend to watch. Obviously, when it comes to app downloads, this is something we've been talking about. We know all the sports books, obviously, they have been around for quite some time. They have millions and millions of active users. But when it comes to acquiring new users, the competition has been heating up. And Kalshi has been doing very well in terms of app downloads. On the day, Bank of America is saying that Kalshi was number 2 in overall the App Store. They're also giving a shout out to DraftKings, which was actually number 5. But even going into the Super Bowl, the January downloads number for Kalshi were pretty strong. We saw around 3 million, which is much, much higher than what we saw for DraftKings and FanDuel. It was about 600,000. So definitely a lot of new users were going to those apps. It was a really strong season, and they were betting on sports, they were betting on entertainment, and they were placing those combo bets. It was really a combination of all the new buzzy things that prediction market does.
Denicia, this is something new. When I'm used to betting on a game, I'm used to like Benny the Bookie, or maybe I'll go to DraftKings and this, that, whatever. And now with Kalshi, this is like the prediction market. It's a totally different atmosphere.
Yeah, there is no house. That's what they say. That, of course, is kind of a level. There are a lot of issues with that. Of course, prediction markets comes with market makers. And when you think of market makers, you have to think of all those big Wall Street names that are handling the plumbing for stocks and bonds. And, we've been talking about Jane Street. We've been talking about Jump. We've been talking about, especially Susquehanna, is a Kalshi market maker. So there definitely is that activity. Of course, the whole concept in prediction market, there is a rivalry. There is a lot of criticism against sports books that, they're against the average player. While in prediction market, we get this peer-to-peer experience. I trade and you trade on the other side, and is a more fair game. Of course, we're yet to see, because there are many different analyses of how much the average user loses, and et cetera, et cetera. But what we heard about the game, for example, is Jordan Bender from Citizens said the pricing on prediction market was a little bit better on the day of the game. Of course, it really depends. His analysis has shown pretty different numbers over time. But when it comes to the game itself, we're definitely saw some better prices from prediction markets compared to bookies.
I think the interesting thing to me is the boom just because people are like, this is new, I want to try it out? Or is it because of all the different things they offer? Like, because people are allowed to bet on the halftime show or trade on those things too?
I think it's a combination. I feel as though with sportsbook, obviously you have kind of a more limited audience in the first place, that obviously prediction markets is in more states. You have layer on that prediction markets can be accessed by people under 21, which for sportsbooks is
that
not
is
the
another
case.
thing that's very odd to me.
That's a really big audience.
Yeah. So there's no age limit at all on prediction markets?
No, I think in most of them you have to be above 18, but in between 18 and 21, that's a pretty big audience of people who are probably quite excited about sports.
Right.
So that's definitely helping.
And that's another thing that people can bet on through Kalshi, and they did, trying to predict who are going to be the guests during the halftime performance for Bad Bunny. In case people didn't know, remember that wedding sequence that you saw? That was for real.
Yeah.
You saw them smack Drool, give a good kiss, and then they separated, and here's Lady Gaga. And I'm wondering if people bet on that and many other performances.
Yeah, I mean, that was where all the controversy was. There wasn't too much drama when it comes to the outcome of the game and the bets about it. But actually, the drama on prediction market was all about performance. For example, Cardi B caused a lot of drama because she was present. And there was a bet on who is going to perform on the Super Bowl. And she was lip syncing, she was dancing. So we saw two different outcomes. We had pretty much the same bet on Kalshi, pretty much the same bet on Polymarket. What happened is that Kalshi stepped in to resolve the contract, and they pretty much resolved it at where it stands. So it was like 76 cents for yes and like 20-something for no. Polymarket took a totally different approach. Based on their rules, it counted that this was a yes, and she did perform. But the way prediction market works is that after this is resolved, you can get disputed. So it's been disputed twice. So it was a complicated bet that no one probably imagined that such a thing will cause so much drama. But clearly it just shows you how hard our prediction markets is actually settling, figuring out what's difference what is a yes and what is a no, and how much additional layers of drama it causes after a bet is done.
Right. As we were talking about that just then, it kind of almost changed my mind. I feel like maybe she didn't perform. Like, I guess if we're talking about performance, but I personally predicted that 2 people would perform and then 5 people would like kind of just show up. So I feel like it is different. But on that, is the reason like we're looking at the controversy there and all of that, like I'm wondering, because sports bets don't have that problem, like with prediction markets, they have this problem that they need to figure out. Is that why they're so much riskier? Like, how do you regulate that stuff, I guess, is what I'm really trying to figure out. How do you regulate what's on prediction markets? And that's why sports betting, is it safer, would you say?
No, that's a great point, because sports betting is something that's been around for a while. If you'd like, there are like more limited number of topics and things you'd bet. Like the whole concept of prediction market is like, oh, you're going to financialize everything. You're going to bet on everything. You're going to bet on music. You're going to bet on Jesus Christ's return. You can bet on pretty much everything. Mm-hmm. And that opens a whole Pandora box of like, oh, but how do you define what's a yes? How do you define what's a no? If it's something as abstract, how do you even define it? What happens if someone manipulates it? What if it's a mention market and I'm aware I'm the Coinbase CEO and I'm on an earnings call and I just start reading all the words on the mention markets?
Which has happened.
It has happened. Yeah. It's a complete mess. Obviously, this is harder to do on sportsbook. There is a whole insider trading issue with prediction markets that they have been fighting with, and it's kind of really hard to figure out. Even if I'm like a performer or I oversee, like I randomly see Bad Bunny's rehearsal and I know so much about performance and I put the money, but then it's not necessarily insider information. I just pass by. So am I an insider? What if I make money? It's just like a pretty much the wild, wild west of just like all those financial contracts.
It's the thing I just can't understand about it. It's someone who's working in the stadium. Yeah, they don't know Bad Bunny. They didn't talk to him about his performance, but they saw all the rehearsals and they could have put up all the money.
Yeah.
That's a very good point, because, I mean, unless Lady Gaga was, in a big barrel and she's just wheeled out there at the last minute, how can you not know? Somebody's going to be seeing that and then place a bet. I mean, you can't. It's there. They are. I don't see how you can avoid it.
And are those people insiders? Did they sign an NDA not to mention it? Are they allowed to bet in? I mean, how do you even deal with that? How do you prepare? Like, do you sign NDAs for every single bet on Polymarket?
Right.
Kalshi? It's a gray area.
Our thanks to Bloomberg News cross-asset reporter Denitsa Sakova.
Up next, we turn to basketball and speak with President of Business Operations for the NBA Charlotte Hornets, for Vanessa Perdomo. I'm Michael Barr. You are listening to the Bloomberg Business of Sports, Bloomberg Radio around the world.
This is Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio.
This is the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr.
And I'm Vanessa Perdomo.
We turn now to the NBA now that we're at the unofficial halfway point in the season, the NBA All-Star break.
All-Star Weekend festivities are going on in LA, but we wanted to head to Charlotte to check in on a franchise that's got a young core and has been playing pretty well. The Charlotte Hornets.
Yes, they have. Joining us now is Shelly Cayette-Weston. She is the president of business operations for Hornets Sports and Entertainment Group, the owners of the Charlotte Hornets and operators of the Spectrum Center. Shelly, welcome to the Bloomberg Business of Sports.
Thank you for having me.
I have to bring this up because you have someone who's going to be in the All-Star game, and this young man, Con Knuppel, a.k.a. Beast.
Knuppel's already made a pair. He's got 3! Oh, my goodness, the con man!
This young man, he was first round, 4th overall in the 2025 draft, and I see why you picked this guy.
Absolutely. Con has been amazing, and he has been amazing on and off the court. I have to tell you, his energy, his commitment, his dedication. A lot of people don't realize, he actually played when he was at Summer League when we won the championship. That was this winning and this momentum started really in the summer during Summer League. And he was playing with stitches in his head. He got a headbutt, and he was still playing because he's so committed, so dedicated. He's been a great energy and a great teammate. I think the team loves him. He's really all about team, which is so important to us. So it's been great having him.
That's, one of the things we definitely wanted to get into, winning the Summer League and, having that momentum going into the season and having the strong rookie class and having Khan come in from your seat, as president of business operations. How much do you apply that strategy when you're looking at how to bring up this rookie class and, how does that apply for you?
Yeah, look, I think it's been great in our organization. I think for any organization, like when you think about rookies, I think about in a business, the intern class. The intern class is so important. Some of your future leaders are in that intern class. They bring new ideas, they bring new energy, they challenge the norms, they make you better as an organization. And I think it's no different for our rookie class. I give a lot of credit to Jeff Peterson and what he and his team has brought in. We've got Khan and Ryan and Liam and Sion, and these guys bring such a strong collegiate background of team camaraderie and toughness, and just a resilience that has really helped and added value to our young core. So they've really gelled well very early. I think it was great to hear, even in the off season. Right after, the draft, our veterans were actually going to their practices, which is not the norm in the NBA, right? But it was really that early team camaraderie that started, and we certainly saw a glimpse of that in Summer League as we were on the journey to winning that championship.
I like the energy that the Hornets have. At one point, you had a 9-game winning streak. Now, this is a really bad time for me to say that I'm a native Detroiter. I won't say what happened in the game. Y'all look it up. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. What I am saying is you guys have the energy, and I think you guys have a shot to make the playoffs.
I love to hear that. And I will say, and it didn't come out of my mouth, but I have heard that from a lot of people actually very early on. And look, I think what you're seeing, the 9-game win streak was such great momentum. But this really started over 2 years ago with new ownership with Rick Snall and Gabe Plotkin having a very clear vision of being a premier NBA and entertainment franchise, of setting the foundation that we're going to bring in talent, and we're going to build a winning culture. And I think what you're seeing over that 9-game win streak, which included, by the way, a 20-point comeback against New Orleans. It was one of our longest win streaks in 2 decades with our organization. You're just seeing the outcome of a lot of work that Charles Lee, who's our head coach, he comes from winning organizations. He comes from having won 2 championships, with the Celtics and the Bucks. He comes understanding what winning culture means. And you see him really infusing that into the team very early. And it's all behind the scenes. And again, it's great that now our fans can see that come to life and what came out to be, again, a 9-game win streak. And it's just momentum. We're looking to do this for the long term, not just a one-time momentum phase. And so we're really excited about what's to come in the future.
Shelly, I want to talk a little bit more about that and about the new ownership. Like you said, they came in just a couple of years ago, and then you came in right after that. Tell us about those early conversations that you had with them, that you knew that this would be a good place for you and you believed in what they were trying to build.
Absolutely. It's, when my first conversations with Rick and Gabe, I felt their passion, and it's hard. I'm excited for everybody to get to know them. Actually, more people are going to get to know Rick because he's in the celebrity game and All-Star.
That's fun.
But they are passionate about basketball. They're passionate about basketball. They're passionate about winning. They both are obviously very successful. And I got to say this, they're just good human beings, but they're really driven by a winning culture. And so they've assembled a team with Jeff Peterson. He was their first hire. Jeff comes with again, great background, great success in his career. My first conversation when I talked to even Jeff, I knew right away that he had a same alignment and commitment to excellence and just being the best, and that we were going to be able to build this together. And then his first hire was Charles Lee, again, who came with a great background and just the energy. So we in the front office are aligned so well, and we have one vision, which is, again, starts from Rick and Gabe, which is to be a premier franchise. And we are just committed to that, and we're committed to that for the long haul.
When you're looking at the market a little bit more, can you tell us about that? Obviously, you were with the Cavs for a long time and being in the Cleveland market and now going into Charlotte. How do what's your strategy around these a bit of it smaller markets? But like you said, obviously, Charlotte and Carolina have this really deep basketball culture. So what's the strategy around those markets and expanding it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because, look, it's a growth market. And so what we know right now is we have legacy fans. Actually, Charlotte had the NBA attendance record for over 9 straight years early when it started in its infancy back in the 80s when it was an expansion team. People loved Del Curry, Muggsy Bogues. And by the way, they're still all on staff. We're actually recognizing and going to retire Del's jersey March 19th. So we know we have a market that is connected to sport, but we also have a market that has 157 people daily moving here. So that means there's a lot of transplants that may have other connections to other teams. So for us, what we think from a strategic standpoint, it's literally about connecting. We want to create a sense of pride, create a product that people can be proud of, but also we have, I think, a market that understands civic engagement and civic commitment and how important that is. And so we just think we're also, by the way, North Carolina was ranked #1 by CNBC as a state to do business 2 years in a row. Wow. So there's a lot of momentum on the business side here also. So we just think we're in an exciting opportunity in a market of growth, and we're happy to play a part of that and be a part of that, the continued growth.
I love Muggsy. I did. I remember when he came in the league. I'm like, yeah, you show.
I also want to note, though, before, Shelly, you had mentioned you came from a basketball background, and we have to let people know you played Division I basketball, right? This wasn't I came from the sport a little bit. You were really into it, and that just proves the whole theory that women, executive women in sports and across business, actually played at high level of sports. It's a very high statistic on that, actually. Shelly, can you tell us more about how being an athlete and being in the game and all of that, influences your leadership style?
Vanessa, you are so accurate with that. People ask all the time about my skill set, and everything that I learned, I attribute all of it literally outside of my parents, my mom and dad, of course. The rest has really been basketball. I have learned so many skill sets in the business side from basketball: tenacity, toughness, how to deal with change, adversity. I didn't have the best. I actually had a great high school career. I was challenged in my collegiate career. I played for a short period overseas near Prague, got cut, had to come back and figure out life. So I'm tested. But I also think it made me stronger. And so now I actually take opportunity, like coming here to this market. The team has been not been the most winningest team over its past few decades. And so I saw the opportunity, and that excites me. So I think basketball actually helped to create that in me, which is about drive. And about, by the way, team. It's all about team. So certainly understanding that, leading the organization, it's all about team. All of those skill sets came from basketball. And I have 2 young girls that are 3 and 6, and one is just starting in basketball. And I can see her learning those skill sets very early. So we believe in the power of sport and the importance of sport, especially even women in sports.
And lastly here, Shelly, as we close up, obviously, big new arenas are the shiny new thing, across all sports, really. And it's really helping drive valuations. And now in the NBA, we see valuations skyrocketing. I mean, across all sports, but really in the NBA, we see 2 teams with over $10 billion valuations. Is that something that you think about at all when you're thinking about growth of revenue and all of those things that you have to think about? Are you thinking at all of, growing your valuation?
We don't lead that. The great thing I love about Rick and Gabe is it's not about just money here. They're doing it because they want to win and have a winning team and culture on and off the court that the fans can be proud of. Absolutely, we want to be responsible in our business efforts. One example of that is Rick and Gabe invested in a brand new practice. So we have a Novant Health practice facility that we're building. It should be finished next spring, right behind the Spectrum Center. And what that is about our vision to have world-class facilities, right? So we want a place that we can actually retain top talent in the NBA and attract new talent, and have a place that's top class. And you think about throughout the industry that has all the best again, when you think about facilities and resources, we're also going to have orthopedic center in there that's open to the public. And our 300 employees will be housed in this facility because Rick and Gabe thought it was important to nurture collaboration. So when you talk about valuation, I think it's important to understand investing in the facility it starts there, right? And if we do that right, we're going to get partners that align. We've had great long-term strategic partners. We just announced Judy Health, which is a great tech company that provides transparent benefits to customers and fans. We just added Honeywell, which is amazing in building automation, and they're going to help our players, fans, and employees become better. Even Truist, that's really a part of our practice facility and connecting with our fans. These are long-term strategic partners. All of those investments and partnerships help long-term, right, as you think about how our organization's valued. And then we have great core partners that are already here, like Bank of America, that's headquartered right here in Charlotte and really committed to community. So all of these things are important. And when you invest on the front end, I think ultimately the valuation comes, but it has to start with the right reason. And we're doing it to create a winning culture and for our fans.
Our thanks to Shelly Cayette-Weston. She's president of business operations for Hornets Sports and Entertainment Group.
Up next, we turn to the world of minor league baseball. That is straight ahead on the Bloomberg Business of Sports. I'm Michael Barr with Vanessa Perdomo. You are listening to Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio around the world.
This is Caroline Hyde.
And I'm Ed Ludlow. Join us for Bloomberg Technology, a daily podcast focusing exclusively on technology, innovation, and the future of business.
We bring you the latest headlines from Silicon Valley and conversations with tech's biggest decision makers.
You have to have a pro-innovation mindset.
We were partnered with OpenAI.
We've all experienced this incredible revolution.
Bloomberg Technology.
Listen on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Bloomberg Podcasts. Context changes everything.
This is Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio.
Thanks for joining us on the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues. I'm not talking that small quarter nickel dime stuff. Big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr.
And I'm Vanessa Perdomo.
We're in the dead of winter, but spring is right around the corner. And with that, it is a new baseball season.
That's right, Michael. And a few weeks back, you, me, and Damian got a chance to speak with Mike Carney. He's CEO of On Deck Partners about his firm's recent purchase of 2 minor league baseball clubs.
Carney's On Deck Partners is a relatively new entity owned by none other than Mark Lazzary's private equity firm, Avenue Capital Group.
Let's listen into our conversation with Mike Carney on his company's latest acquisitions and the business of minor league baseball.
We're super excited to formally launch the brand. It's been a long time and that we've been developing it together with the Avenue team, together with our announcement of our first 2 acquisitions and the announcement of our brand, we really couldn't be more thrilled to have 2 really, really great teams, to kick this off. Visalia and Montgomery, I get asked the question a lot, why those 2? And it really comes down to the fact that, we see a lot of value in these teams that are in, these small to mid-sized markets that really have rich history. Rich history both with the teams as well as just the markets themselves. Visalia and Montgomery really are very different markets, and we can talk more about that. But the tradition and the richness of and what baseball means to these communities is really what drew us to them. And the initial reactions from fans, from the community, from the municipality, has all just been really overwhelmingly positive, which has been really great for us to hear. From the mayors, the city councils, and the business owners on down, it's been really tremendous. And so look, we're just getting started. So we're going to be back out there over the next couple weeks, one in Montgomery and one in Visalia, to keep building the momentum, and we're really excited about it.
And Vanessa, I should add that the Montgomery Biscuits, Alabama-based, I love that name. They are the AA affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays, and the California-based Rawhide, the Visalia Rawhide, they are the single A affiliate of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Right, exactly. So he mentioned exactly your point there, Mike. You mentioned it. it's these community aspects of it, which is really interesting. And then obviously it's the talent pool for big league teams. Those are the things that we're looking at. But when you're looking at it from institutional capital and why you're investing in these places, what is the business case to buy these minor league teams?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's been a lot of capital that's been coming in to sports, and minor league baseball, hasn't seen as much of the investment historically, and because these are very interesting and unique businesses. Every community is very unique. These are a lot of the investments that come into sports may be in new leagues. They may be in kind of niche sports. In this case, you have a sport that's been around for 150 years. You've got, the minor leagues themselves have been around for 100 plus years. Visalia, they've had their team for, 80 years. Montgomery's had theirs for 20 years. So these are really long-standing businesses that just really haven't had the ability to scale. They've really been very hyper-local businesses. And what institutional capital can really do, especially in these smaller, mid-sized markets, is build capability. Whereas, the mom and pops that have run this for decades, they don't have the ability to scale in that way. Because the Visalia and Montgomery aren't going to be drawing national crowds. They're drawing hyper-local crowds. And so investing in these hyperlocal markets, it can be very fragmented. Well, we have the ability now to be able to scale that.
Well, Mike, when I was looking up the Visalia Rawhide, and I was looking at a team who's played their games at Valley Strong Ballpark, the same ballpark since its inception in 1946. But what's interesting here is they've had actually 9 names, right? Because it reflects that they've had 9 parent affiliated Major League Baseball. So I didn't realize in Single A that happens a lot, right? Like where, one year the Single A affiliate for the Colorado Rockies, the next year you're the Diamondbacks. I mean, does that happen very often? And, for me, what I kind of read into is it really does make Visalia, an interesting place because they must be really tied to their local team regardless of where these players are going and where they're going to play in their major careers. Or am I wrong to misread? Am I misreading that?
You're totally right. And in today's day and age, the parent club is looking for really top tier facilities. And they're going to be going to markets that have top tier facilities, they want to have full ballparks also. And this is what institutional capital and our group in particular can do is be able to make sure that the stadium is full, cheering on the team, that there's an amazing weight room and training facility. And, we've built great relationships with the player development teams at the parents. This is going to be really, really important going forward because, as you've seen, sports just keeps getting more and more competitive. And these now become really, competitive differentiators for the parents.
We're talking with Mike Kearney, the Chief Executive Officer for On Deck Partners. If you have not been to a minor league baseball game, go, because you will have one heck of a time. I remember going to see several of them, and I love the little contest where you got the little car that's running around and he's got the sunroof open, and then you got to throw something in the car to go try to win a prize. I failed miserably. I hit some poor man in the head.
You hit someone in the head, Michael?
Well, it slipped, man. But my point is, minor league baseball, I can see it as we continue on and budgets for families continue on. That's really the way to go if you want to take the entire family out.
It is. I mean, any professional sporting event you go to with a family of 4, you need to be prepared to spend hundreds of dollars. And one thing that for On Deck Partners that is going to be absolutely critical for our strategy is we're going to have a relentless focus on the fan. And what does that mean? That means that we're going to maintain that history, that minor league baseball that has been core to minor league baseball for 100 plus years, which is family friendly, affordable fun for kids. Summertime weather, kids are out of school. There's a kids play zone for kids to go play in. There's cold beer for the adults. We're going to make sure that that brand remains. And Michael, by the way, since we've been talking about the biscuits, we do have a biscuit toss in Montgomery.
Nice.
So
Ooh.
You want a nice fresh biscuit.
Yeah.
well, you know what? I want to go there about Montgomery, and I want to kind of look at the difference. Like Visalia, you think Sierra Nevada mountains, what, like 150, call it 200,000 people in that area. Probably right. But Montgomery is much bigger. Montgomery, the metropolitan is like 400,000 plus.
That's right.
They have universities there. They have, I think, an Air Force base there.
That's right.
So tapping into that community. Tell us how On Deck kind of seizes on that opportunity. How do you see that opportunity? Are you working with a lot of those largest employers in the region, making them aware? Are you working with, for example, the regional airports to make sure that, for people who want to fly in maybe and see a game, they can do? Again, like how do you build attendance? How do you improve the valuation of the club?
Yeah, it's a great question. And maybe I'll start kind of top down. And I think, to really believe in minor league baseball, you have to believe in the future of these kind of tier 2 and tier 3 markets. You have to believe that America is going to continue to thrive, not just in the biggest metropolises, but they're going to continue to thrive in these smaller markets. And as population grows in these smaller markets, they need to have entertainment.
Yeah.
And for a lot of the markets you're going to see us, invest in, they're going to be the markets where the ballpark really is that central entertainment hub. Not something where you have all different kinds of entertainment options, where the community really relies on these ballparks. And I think where sometimes the mom and pops or the former owners have struggled is that these communities rely on grassroots marketing. Grassroots marketing is inherently hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to do because it's fragmented. How do you reach out with a individual one-to-one touch with the local community? It's hard to do. And we're going to be able to focus on that because we're going to be able to develop that centrally and then be able to have the local customized approach. We're going to really focus on that. I think you hit on a really good point about Montgomery. I still live full time in Washington, D.C. I was with the Washington Nationals for a long time, and the military is central to that community.
Yeah.
There is a direct flight from Washington, D.C. to Montgomery, Alabama. Why is that? Because the military is so critical in both Montgomery and D.C. And you're going to see us really reach out in new ways to the military community. A lot of the things that we did at the Washington Nationals, I think, will apply locally. And by the way, Visalia also has a big military community. Military and baseball goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
As American traditions, and so you'll continue to see us lean into that.
Ted Williams.
My dad played in the military, in baseball in the
kidding.
military.
Hey,
Yeah, I love
go.
hearing his stories, playing in like Korea and Japan and all these like fun stuff. And it was like, weren't you there to fight? You were playing baseball. It's interesting.
Mike, last question for you. I'm sure you're aware KKR is said to have bought Arctos, which is another competing, very large sports-related private equity firm. Everyone knows who they are. What does this mean for the asset class? What does this mean for you all? Are you looking at that with bated interest? Do you see this as being something that is going to potentially happen again and again and again? You see where I'm going here?
Yeah, I'm excited for I know the guys at Arctos, and I'm excited for them. Anytime there is really professional institutional capital coming into minor league baseball, I see it as a good thing. We partner hand in hand with Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball's all in on what we're doing here. The more parties that are coming in to make this better, this is a rising tide, lifts all ships kind of scenario. We all know each other, and everybody who's coming in has the same interest in mind to be able to drive greater value for these local clubs. I think our approaches are all very different, and that's good. Because we can have a different dialogue with minor league baseball owners, and there's going to be different approaches, and we support that. But ultimately, congrats to those guys on the big news, and we're thrilled for them.
Mike Kearney, Chief Executive Officer, On Deck Partners. Thank you, sir. You are now an old friend of the Bloomberg Business of Sports. Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Our thanks to On Deck Partners CEO Mike Kearney for speaking with us. What happens to the time? That does it for this week's episode of the Bloomberg Business of Sports.
Thanks for joining us. Tune in again next week for the latest on the stories moving big money in the world of sports. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Find it on Apple, Spotify, the Bloomberg Business app, and all your favorite podcast platforms. And if you tune in this week, you'll hear a special bonus conversation I had with WWE pro and social media celebrity Logan Paul about his involvement in the world of collectibles.
Plus, subscribe to the Bloomberg Business of Sports newsletter so you can stay up to date with all of Bloomberg's top reporting in the world of sports. For Vanessa Perdomo, I'm Michael Barr. You are listening to the Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio around the world.